there and taps his hands and you're just sitting there and you know, sit there and rock back and forth in the chair like in a big old another murderer or whatever he is convicted. Up to this point of a case, not in handcuffs, not in shackles, one or the other or both, and in orange.
Hello, everybody. Excited utterance here. My name is Hella, and I'm sorry we're a tiny bit late, but I think you can forgive me considering that the day in court just finished like 20 minutes ago or something. Can you believe it? Yeah. Right. So I know like Moscow, Idaho, it's like a bit to the west, so it's not like Eastern time, but still, I was not expecting for this hearing to go until like nearly my 10 a.m. So, yeah, I've been like trying to watch it, catch up on it, prepare for it, and I have my guest here as well. So, sorry, guys, but crazy. And hello. Hi, Sarah says hi. Hello. Yes, nice Star Trek music. Well, I mean, you might recognize it from Star Trek. You might recognize it also from the Blues Brothers. That moment when, you know, they are running away from the NAZIs. Yes, that. It's the tiny part of Idaho, that Pacific time, so it's really painful. Oh, it's the different time zones in Idaho. I didn't know that. Anyway, they were in court all day, absolutely all day. They may have even gone late into the day. I don't know. I don't really understand Pacific time. All I know is, it's Mountain time. Yeah, Mountain time. So it's 2 hours behind Eastern. Right. They just kept going and going. And it's like, I didn't get much sleep last night. I was like awake and watching a bit and then, yeah, crazy. Also, thank you to the shout out in Andrea's chat by Jeff, her husband, for this live as well. That's nice of you guys. It's 6 p.m. there right now. Right, so they went overtime a bit. I want to welcome my guest, Kathy. How's it going, Kathy?
Hi, Hella. It's so nice to speak with you again. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Well, I'm getting ready to take a nap here because it was quite the day virtually.
I reckon.
Participating in the Idaho very explosive change of venue. This motion, from the minute it was filed, it's been nothing but fireworks, and today was no exception, Hella.
I reckon. So, okay, I knew that there were going to be experts. I knew that at least the defense was going to bring experts. I wasn't expecting them to be quite as long-winded as they were, but that's fine. They came with the goods. Ann Taylor brings experts, and she brings them with the goods. She always knows how to pick them. She doesn't mess around. She doesn't come along with nothing. She always comes along with good arguments, and she did. at the end of the day, I actually did hope that they were going to go along until now and we would be able to live stream the court's ruling. But then again, I also was a little bit pragmatic about it. And I was like, well, I don't really think that Judge is likely to make a ruling today, regardless of whether it goes through till 6 p.m. their time. And I was right. No, he didn't make a ruling today. He at the very end of all the closing arguments, he very quickly stated that, and humbly, I must say, he stated that this is the biggest decision of his career. Pretty much, he did. He said those words, didn't he? Biggest decision of his career. And he had to think about this. He's not going to make a ruling right now. He needs to go back through everything. And I thought, yeah, that was kind of humble. So good for him. He could have just said denied, or he could have gone, no, not ruling today, going to think about it. And yeah, so he's going to come back on this one. Even though, like, a lot of us, I think that the evidence is overwhelming. He should have ruled at least that it would change, if not where it was going to change to. But there are a lot of people with vested interest in this one. Hello, everybody. How are you? Old Line Red, how are you? Not all of Idaho's mountain. No, not trying to fight, but it's Pacific. Okay. The Blues Brothers is a 98, and Star Trek: The Motion Pictures is 1979. There you go. You're going to go with the Blues Brothers ripping off Star Trek. Okay, it's right at the Valkyries. So how about it's neither? Neither. Yep. It's Wagner. It's Wagner. All right, let's get into it, guys. So what Kathy and I were wanting to look at first, obviously, is start from the beginning. We weren't going to start from the end if that was still going. Yeah, but we'll start from the beginning. Let me change my layout here. Okay, so right at the start, there was a little roadmap of how the experts were going to work for the day. So Eliza, she's second chair, I believe. She was just going to introduce the experts for the day. Now, if you're unaware of how this works, did you want to just, Kathy, talk for a second about how the motion for change of venue came about in the first place, very briefly, and then we can get into this?
Yes. On January 30th, 2024, the defense filed a motion for change of venue. And on the 8th of February 2024, the state filed an opposition to the motion for change of venue, stating it was premature, it didn't have the statistical information it needed in support. And so therefore we saw then Dr. Edelman conducting his surveys, stopped on the 22nd of March because there was some thought from the state that they had violated the amended non-dissemination order. So there were some fireworks. There was a motion that the defense fired back with, Judge, you're violating our due process privileges. We had no hearing on this matter. You stopped the survey. Bottom line is that the court ruled that there was no violation. The surveys could continue. This hearing was supposed to have been on the 27th of June, but the parties, one of the things that they did come to agreement on is to say it needed to be moved to today because Dr. Edelman needed time to complete his survey process, which had been interrupted, and then he would need to, develop his affidavit or declaration, which we saw. So this brings us to today.
Thank you very much. And see, like, honestly, you're not just a pretty face. you can see her face on the thumbnail. But you're not just a pretty face. Miss Kathy here, she just knows everything about the background of the documents and the whole case. You know everything. I could just pick out anything and go, hey, when was that motion for the IGG filed? And she'd go, this day. Like that. She'd pick it out. She'd go, hang on, which motion? Which one are you talking about? Just like that. All right, anyway, let's move on.
Call your first witness. Your
Honor, Ms. Massa, we'll start.
Okay. Mathis, thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Your Honor, as we get started here today, what I'd like to do is provide you with a roadmap of where we're going with our witnesses. The standard here is whether there's a reasonable likelihood that pretrial publicity has affected the impartiality of prospective jurors. To establish the quantity of pretrial publicity, we will call James Todd Murphy with true scope. To establish effect on partiality, we will call Dr. Alili to discuss the social science behind juror decision-making. Then we will call Dr. Bryan Edelman about the survey and what it means. And finally, we will call Dr. Dare about the validity of the survey methodology. We are not calling today Scott Sunby, but as you listen to testimony today, please keep his sworn affidavit in mind. With his 39 years of studying capital juries and teaching at the National Judicial College, he is considered by the United States Supreme Court an expert in this area. He has published this book. It's called A Life and Death Decision, A Jury Weighs the Death Penalty. And this book is a culmination of interviews of over 1,200 capital jurors and how capital juries make decisions. Research shows that when a small community creates pressure to impose death, an Eighth Amendment violation may occur. Through these witnesses today, we want to avoid beginning a trial with, as Mr. Sunby states, quote, a thumb on death's side of the scale, end quote. And with that.
So, Kathy, this witness that didn't appear today, but there was an affidavit.
Mm-hmm.
Were we furnished with that affidavit, or was that one kept from us?
No, that was part of the 200-page packet. That was the response. Yes, that was where they were ordered per this order that was entered on the 27th of June.
Yes.
What the court did is establish, okay, state or defense, you will now produce all of your witness testimony, what you're going to introduce at the hearing. Then we saw state come back, and then we saw the reply brief. So that affidavit. I want to mention Dr. Dare, the fourth person, really was not an expert witness. She was just testifying as to the validity of Dr. Bryan Edelman's survey. She had questions. Yes, they were right. They were appropriate. So she's not offering anything other than to say, Judge, you can bank on what Edelman has just testified to.
Yes, but that affidavit, was that published as or sealed?
No, it's part of the packet. It's part of the packet.
Okay, I don't recall that one.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I might go back and have a look at that then. All right, so 4 experts today. I thought there were 3.
3 experts, but then this Dr. Dare, the last person who came on.
Sorry.
What he did is just said, you know what, Edelman was his questions were proper. This is how we can establish that. She didn't introduce anything further.
Yeah, okay. So keep that in mind, Judge, because this person has 39 years experience and has written this book. And there's an affidavit there for you to look at. Right. So the first one is the fellow from TrueScope, and TrueScope make the infographics. So basically the data visualizations of the statistics, etc., showing where the media saturation is in the potential jury pools. So we might just have a quick look at him. We won't look at his, do his background, because when experts come on, they tend to talk about themselves for quite a while.
Oh, they do. He did.
Yeah, they do. So we'll flick past that because we are doing a recap, and we'll get straight into the guts of what he's going to talk about. So he had a little PowerPoint, did he?
Yes, this is James Todd Murphy, but he goes by the name Todd, he says. And,
Todd. Oh, that's right. And he wasn't aware that Judge was called Judge until yesterday.
We got a couple of chuckles out of Judge out of this testimony. He said something. I only found out yesterday that the court's name was Judge. He was born for the position. Judge. Oh. That one. No, he did. He stuck to him a couple of times.
Very cute. All right, let's just see if I can get past the pleasantries and straight into it.
Thank you.
No, it looks like we're just.
Can you tell the court what that is?
That is a very base level spreadsheet of all the media exposure. Just looking at some of the topics specific to this account that you've engaged us for, including the topics that you've specified we monitor for your account. It includes various things like the type of media, so it might be Twitter or print or broadcast. It would include the metadata we include, city, state, circulation, viewership, things like that. There's also hyperlinks. As a client of ours, you would see it. If you exported this from your workspace or we exported it for you, you would have a hyperlink. You would click on that. Because we have a cookie on your computer, it would open that hyperlink and you could see the full story. Unless it's an online story or a social media story, then we take you directly to that end source. So if it's MoscowDailyNews.com and it's in front of their paywall, you would click on that link and you can view that story yourself.
Is Exhibit C in front of you specific to Latah County?
Yes, I see under county, spot checking it and spinning through where it can be determined either all Latah County related. Some of them are cities within Latah County.
Okay, so let's have a look at some of these things. So this is exactly what we've seen already in the documents. So volume of media coverage, Latah versus population. And so he's just going to explain all that. I wonder if he's going to get to anything.
I know my chart that shows the population.
Sorry, what did you say?
That graph that he just showed, one of them, what he's saying is, a question that I had about him is he was retained in February of 2023, but his data only went from January 1st through, it's up to and including now. But the question that what the state asked is, well, Mr. Kohberger was arrested in December. Didn't you do any analysis for December? I was questioning that myself. His analysis starts January 1st, but there's a spike in May. And he gives the reason why. There was a spike in May in interest in the case. In
May 2023 or
May of 2023, yeah. It's one of his
a spike in May 2023.
Right. Interest in the case. What he does, yeah, he looks at the media reports and when there's a spike in interest in the case. And there was a large spike in May of 2023 because of, I'm sure, I wonder if any of your listeners know, if you recall, it was a monumental event that happened in May. That was the grand jury indictment when it was returned.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's the reason why there was a big spike in interest in the case. In Ada County as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you watched my stream on the one before you came on, and we spoke about the 319 page document. And we went through the spikes, and that was one I wasn't sure about. The rest of them were pretty clear. There was a spike around when the house went down, and the anniversary. There was a spike when the alibi came out. So April this year, for example. So there are pretty clear reasons around when the spikes happen. But yeah, that one there, the grand jury one,
huge.
That one, I wasn't aware exactly what that one was about, because grand jury, the thing with the grand jury is that they're supposed to be kept quiet, aren't they?
Yes, the indictment was, the grand jury met Friday the 12th of May, Monday the 15th of May, and indictment was returned on the 16th and filed on the 16th of May.
Because it was filed then. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay, so that would have been a big news story.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the area.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Did this guy have anything much more to contribute that caused any concernment?
I mean, he basically was consistent with what we saw and what we would expect. You know, he monitors the media, and he did mention that it was mainly negative media, which we all knew. There's very few stories that we've seen in mainstream media, as Ann Taylor very eloquently put it in her closing statement, that Bryan Kohberger is deemed innocent until proven guilty. He is innocent under the eyes of the law. No mainstream Dateline stories like that. You have to come to your channel to learn something like that, to kind of open the eyes as to what his presumption of innocence is. It's all negative, and he made a point of referencing that.
What did the state have to say? I'm gonna just have a quick look at that.
Oh, that sneaky, the state comes back here.
Okay.
Good morning, sir. Just for my own clarification, on those pie charts, when it says Latah County and Ada County, are you limiting that to the boundaries of the specific county, or are you talking about the broader designated market area?
When the what we're looking at is media mentioned that impacted the county.
The county specifically.
Right. So
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So
Helen, you know
you're
what
looking at those line graphs that you presented. I noticed that they started in January of 2023.
Correct.
So December of 2022, Mr. Kohberger was arrested. Were you able to make any determinations of media coverage in December of 2022 at the time Mr. Kohberger was arrested?
We were not engaged nor tracking the media.
Okay. And that's not possible to go back and track that.
We can do what's called a back search, but we can't. Certain media types have expired. Online news links, social media might have been taken down. So you can do it. I wouldn't say I would present it with confidence.
Thank you.
I can show you a number.
Thank you. So fair to say, though, that there probably would have been a pretty substantial spike at that time as well.
I would say yes.
And possibly, although you can't say for sure, that spike could have been even higher than any of the other spikes on this graph, possibly.
The possibility exists.
Thank you, sir. So for the first 6 months on this chart of volume of media coverage over time for Latah and Ada County had more intense media coverage in January, February, March, April, May, and then June, and then in July, there's that crossover where Latah County is higher than Ada County. So fair to say for that first 6 months, Ada County did have, at times, fairly significantly more media coverage than Latah County.
Correct.
Okay. And council talked with you about these peaks and how they correspond with specific events in the case, such as court hearings. Would you expect that if the court were to make a decision to start closing certain hearings, particularly evidentiary hearings as we approach trial, that would be a mitigating factor that would decrease the amount of media coverage in this case?
I can't say yes or no on that. I would say it depends. If those closed meetings were a public record, then the media most likely that's following this would still have a high probability of reporting on it. They may just not have any image or interviews or some of the elements that go into a more engaging news story.
So the coverage might be less intense.
Intense is a qualification that I'm not able to make. I can't tell you how intense something impacts you as a viewer or a consumer.
Sure, thank you. And I noticed in that chart of Latah County and Ada County coverage that in the last couple of months, that coverage intensity in both of those counties has become pretty close again. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yes.
And so based on these charts, it's really not beyond the realm of possibility that Ada County could again surpass Latah County in coverage, at least at certain points, correct?
Again, there's an equal chance of possibility. The probability based on the data, I would say is no, in my professional opinion.
Okay. So look, anything's possible.
Wow.
It's about what's probable.
What she's trying to, in my opinion, Hella, what she was trying to, and this is Ingrid Beatty, by the way, she is one of the two assistant attorney generals that are helping out with this case free of charge to Latah County. What I believe she was trying to do was to solicit testimony from defense witness to try to get more hearings closed, number one. Number two, the first question, and she cut him off. She said, when you were sampling Latah County, did you go outside? Were you just remaining in the geographical? Did you go outside of Latah? I think it's because you're going to push for Nashurst County, which is a county over Lewiston, 20 miles away from Moscow. And early on, the gentleman sitting down there at the prior hearing on change of venue, he said in his travels around the world, he's asked about this case, and the only place where they didn't seem to care about it, Lewiston, Nashurst County. That's what they're pushing for, to go over to the next county.
And isn't that Judge's territory? Isn't that where, like, that's his sort of neck of the woods, I've heard?
Well, I don't know if that's his neck of the woods. He's a resident of Latah County, because we know that last year when this trial was set to happen in October, before Mr. Kohberger waived his right to speedy, that Judge disclosed he got a subpoena for this trial to appear as for possibly be put on the jury. That's how small this county is, and that's how we know who's the residents of Laptop.
Right. Yeah. No, I've heard talk that is it Nasfer?
It's like Naspers. There's a street, and I think it may even be the street where the Sigma Chi is. It's called Naspers. Okay. So that's where we may have heard it also.
I've heard that that's where he usually presides. Like this is not his usual courthouse. He's usually over there.
No. He is the district court for Laptop County. There's two here. Yeah, Megan Marshall. She's the judge. She signed the affidavit of probable cause, and she's the judge until the indictment was returned. Then it gets kicked upstairs, if you will, to judge.
Okay, I need to look into this more. Maybe he was there prior or something like that.
He might have been on loan. He might have been on loan. Sometimes that's what they'll do. If there's a judge, a small county, you only have one judge. Judge gets sick or something like that. Well, he might be lent over, and maybe he was temporarily. But he is absolutely a resident of Laptop because he was needed to be a juror.
Okay, but think about it. It's only 20 miles away. That's much more comfortable for everybody, isn't it? Because I'm sure a lot of people are, especially in the courtroom right now, are thinking, I don't want to have to relocate myself for months. And if it's 20 miles away, that's like driving distance every day, right? So,
including Judge, because he will be traveling 300 miles if this case gets moved to Ada County.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah,
exactly. So 20 miles. Okay, that's slightly more digestible for us all. But if the fact of the matter is that 20 miles away isn't going to really help very much, it's still a really, really small community, and they still know people. There's still that interconnectedness that we talked about last time.
Exactly.
Then it's not going to help, right? So if you're going to bother to move it, you got to bother to move it.
I was going to say, don't pretend that you're going to protect Mr. Kohberger's Sixth Amendment privileges by moving this trial to the county over 20 miles. Oh, to the town that Mr. Thompson just coincidentally said, Lewiston, the only place that doesn't seem to care about this trial.
Oh, I wonder why he'd say that.
I wonder why.
He doesn't have a vested interest at all, does he?
No.
I just need to move my cat. Dear me.
He didn't say a word today. He just sat there, let baby argue everything.
I noticed that. I was like, is he going to talk? What's going on? Has he got laryngitis or something?
I don't
Very
know.
unlike him. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one, shall we? Because Dr. Edelman really was the star today, wasn't he?
He was.
He took a fair bit of time. But hang on. Was he second? No. No.
He's third. He's third. He was absolutely the person I think that most people were wanting to hear from today. Again, he was the person who this hearing got moved for to accommodate his completion of the survey.
Absolutely. Hang on. I missed this one here. What's this lady's name again?
This is Dr. Elayai. Elia? Dr. Elia.
Elia. Okay. Thank you for spelling that. I wouldn't have been close to being able to pronounce it.
I wrote that down on my notes. I said I'm gonna have to spell this for Helen tonight because I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, thank you. All right. And she does behavioral analysis.
Oh yeah, she was a good witness. I thought she did.
Good witness.
She's going to show the bias and how bias is created in minds and how it happens. Like, in other words, well, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I thought she was the best of the three, quite frankly.
Can the change of venue decision be appealed if the judge doesn't allow it? I wouldn't think over and over again that they're going to get on with business. I would think at least once, but I mean,
well, let's look at it. We've had two decisions that were appealed interlocutory. An interlocutory appeal is before the case is over. We had the media coalition failed miserably before the Idaho Supreme Court. They were told you need to go back down, and so judge denied them. And also the motion to dismiss was also, remember, the defense appealed, it wanted to appeal that, and they lost that argument too. We don't want to go 3-3 here. So it'll probably be an appeal at the end of the case.
So you're saying that like one appeal, and
well, I don't think that you can do an interlocutory. She might, but I think it's more. It has to be at the end of the trial. There has to be very special circumstances. You got to ask judge for permission if you can appeal it first. That's number one. Number two, they've lost both arguments. Actually, it was 3 motions because there were 2 motions to dismiss the indictment. Both of them died, and the media coalition also were kicked out of the Supreme Court. So very, very small decisions, minor, very small. This is where you can appeal interlocutory while the case is still going on.
There's a wealth of knowledge. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, I wouldn't think that. I mean, I haven't put it as eloquently as yourself, but being pre-trial and with everything else that's going on, I wouldn't think that judge would entertain over and over again it being appealed and then gone back and back and forth, whilst there's so much else that needs to be addressed. I mean, the trial's in June 2025.
Right.
There's so much of the business that needs to be looked at besides the change of venue. Once he rules on it, perhaps one go at it, but I wouldn't even. I think if she tried to appeal it, he might entertain one appeal, but that would be it, I would think.
Yeah, they're open to, and like you said, you put it, 100% spot on. Discovery cutoff is next week. That means the state has to get all of the discovery. Then we're going to be getting into the DP, the DP arguments, and things are going to start happening very quickly now. The trial's 9 months away. It's going to go like nothing.
Yeah. All right. This lady, let's have a little bit of a look at her.
Potentially related to bias. So it could be biased perceptions of ourselves, how we tend to overestimate ourselves in a lot of ways. It includes biased impressions of individuals, like you might take one thing about a person and make a whole bunch of conclusions about them when you don't know them, and that could influence how you perceive their behavior later on. It includes biased perceptions of groups, so stereotyping and prejudice. And I've also studied biased impressions of businesses.
Have you consulted as an expert in other cases besides Mr. Kohberger's case?
Yes, I consulted in a case around 2016 or so, and then I was involved in the non-dissemination hearing here as well.
Okay, let's get into what she's talking about.
I want to know if this is the background of the research on potential juror bias. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of research on how publicity affects potential jurors. It says roughly 40 years. Really, it's been longer because in the 1960s, there were some high-profile cases, and so social scientists wondered, does it matter if there's a lot of publicity about a case? Could that potentially make jurors less objective? Could that influence actual outcomes in a case? And so the research started then, kind of trickled in, and then became more and more popular. And then in 1999, there were enough studies that somebody conducted what's called a meta-analysis, and another one was conducted in 2022, so it's nice to have a recent one. A meta-analysis is when you take a bunch of studies on the same topic and you statistically combine them into one giant study. So they do this in every field. They do this in medicine, every discipline, where you really want to know an overall effect of something. Because I might run a study on the effects of pretrial publicity and find maybe a small effect, and somebody else might find a big effect, and somebody else might find no effect. And it's hard to trust any one study with a few dozen participants, or even if it's hundreds. I would want to see lots of studies. Just like if I were trying to decide if I want to take a medication, I don't want just one study that tells me it works or doesn't work if I have a serious illness or the medication has a serious risk. But I would be much more confident if there were a whole bunch of studies, dozens of studies combined, and thousands of participants' data. And so a meta-analysis basically does that. It narrows down a specific topic, in this case, the effects of pretrial publicity on judgments, and it examines overall, combined, is there an effect? And so there were like I said, one is quite recent from 2022. So it's the simplest way to describe this research. It's the easiest way for somebody to know where it stands, even if they don't read all the articles. And what this work has found is that if somebody's exposed to publicity about a case, something about the defendant, something about the case, fact, fiction, that the tendency is, if you look at everything as a whole, for it to affect judgments, and specifically how much you like the defendant, your inclination to think that they're guilty, your judgments of their criminality, etc.
Right.
And this has been shown with individual judgments of guilt, but even more so with group judgments with juries. And it looks at participants who are randomly assigned to get pretrial publicity information or not, so that.
Well, isn't that interesting? Don't we see this every day, guys? Like, so many cases, but of course this one, if you're going to have all these major news outlets, if you're going to have a document that's released by law enforcement that is full of information that says that this person did all these terrible things, and you put them in shackles and you parade them out in front of the whole world, and then you got the likes of Nancy Grace and what's her name from Court TV, Julie Grant. You get all of those people, Coffin Duffer, to talk about how he stalked the victims, how he would go into bars and try and get women's addresses, all these terrible things he used to do as a teenager, etc. Of course, he's not going to be likable. Of course, he has this element of criminality about him, and of course, he is predisposed to be guilty because it continues and continues. And then what this lady was also just saying about there being this peer mentality about it. So if other people around you are saying that he's guilty, it's very difficult to be the one who is the odd person out. Kind of like myself with Sarah Boone, people are very much like, oh, you're saying she's innocent? It's like, well, she is at the moment.
That's right. That's right. Spot on analysis. This is basically what she testified here to, that this bias it is. And then she gets into the fact that the people here are, they have an emotional tie to this because this happened in their community and they're talking about it with their neighbors and it's in their face. They don't have that on data counting.
Yes, incriminating taglines, titles, among items taken from suspect, knives, guns. Okay, interesting. So did you, hang on, what I would like to do is get to some examination of her. Fear-inducing messages, killer on the loose, yeah.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
I have.
So does it sound correct that 75% of folks in Latah County are not affiliated with the university?
I don't recall his percentages.
Okay.
So offhand, I'd have to see the report. I could look at it if you'd like.
Okay. And I should be more precise. I believe the question was, are you or a family member a student or employee at the University of Idaho in Moscow? And the percentage of folks who responded no was 75%. Does that sound right?
I couldn't tell you without seeing it. Sorry, I don't remember.
Would it surprise you to find out that 60% of Latah County residents who were surveyed reported that they did not feel higher levels of stress or anxiety during the hunt for the killer in this case?
I don't know. I don't know what percentage I would have estimated. I just would have estimated it to be higher in Latah.
Okay. So is one strategy that the court could use in any jurisdiction, whether the trial stays in Latah County or moves to Ada County, would bringing in a larger jury pool alleviate some of these concerns across any jurisdiction?
Right.
Well, if we're talking about Latah County, a lot of the things that I mentioned were not in the survey. So, there are emotions I mentioned that weren't assessed during the survey, impressions of Mr. Kohberger that weren't in the survey. So it could be that 90% of people think he's a bad guy, but they don't think he's guilty. And then that still could influence judgment. So it's really hard to answer that question without, I didn't make the survey, and even if I did, there'd be a lot of things that I would miss too, so I can't make that determination about, you said maybe you can restate it and I can.
No, I appreciate the answer. Thank you. Now, I guess the last question I'll ask you is, would you be surprised to find out that in the survey, when jurors were asked, potential jurors who were responding to the survey were asked what their opinion is of Bryan Kohberger, the highest percentage of prospective jurors that were surveyed who had no opinion of Mr. Kohberger were Latah County survey respondents? So that surprised you?
That they have no opinion about whether he is guilty.
I think the question is just, do you have an opinion of Mr. Kohberger?
Well, it's a high-profile case that had a lot of coverage, and the percentages are so high that of people who have an opinion. I imagine, I don't have those in front of me, but in statistics we call that a ceiling effect, when all the percentages are high and you can't really see differences. So I don't know if we're talking. I don't know what numbers you're looking at, but I don't know if that applies or not in this particular case.
This is ridiculous. This is so stupid. The questioning is so stupid.
Well, one thing, even though Judge looks a little bewildered at times here in board, he did say to her, "Thank you very much. That was very interesting," at the end.
Yeah.
I think he took a lot of this in. He took a lot of this testimony on board. And first off, I don't believe that there is one resident, an adult in Moscow or Latah County, who has heard of Bryan Kohberger and has no opinion of him. To me, I think that's just people trying to say, "Hey, I'm not biased" or whatever. I can keep an open mind.
If they say that, they've got their pants on fire. Seriously, and the questioning of this woman, would it surprise you? Come on. Really? What? Would it surprise you?
One in 4 residents have either a family member or themselves are employed by the University of Idaho. Something close to that figure have relatives or have a close relationship to someone who's involved in law enforcement that worked on this investigation.
And this is not being talked about.
You're not going to find that.
It's so important, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not being talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's all this talk about whether they know about the case, whether they've heard all this stuff in the media, whether they're upset about the house being torn down, whether they're going to whether they're going to see someone down at the shops that is in law enforcement or whatever. But the economic impact of it, no one's really talking about that.
Huge. Edelman gets into it a little bit, but I don't think that it's talked enough about either.
No.
I've always said I believe that the university is the white elephant in the room, the elephant that's not talked about. That they sat in on war meetings with law enforcement. What are they doing at the table? What in heaven's name is the University of Idaho doing at the table?
Why? Yeah, exactly. The fact that he was arrested, there was an arrest at that time when the university was going back.
Yes.
What is with that? That was just perfectly timed. Oh, okay. Everyone can go back now. It's okay.
Absolutely time. The boogeyman has been arrested. You can come back. You can spend your money. The restaurants are dead. We need you to come back and buy gas here and rent the buildings and bring your money into Moscow. They also don't want this trial to move because for 3 months they're gonna have business. They're gonna have hotel rooms that'll be filled. They're gonna have people that need to go and eat somewhere. So it's all about follow the money. I mean, that's capitalism. That's what we're built on.
Exactly. Oh, Line, you're right. And the timeline's a problem, though. You can't ask people to move for 3 months. Yeah, and the money will move for 3 months too.
Mm-hmm.
I I smell that people see this as a tourist opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, there's a lot of hotel rooms that'll be filled. There's going to be, gas stations. They're going to go to Walmart to buy food or whatever the case may be. All of that's going to go to Ada County.
Exactly. And look, I mean, they did it for Daybell. They did it for for Laurie and Chad.
Right, and that's one thing that Edelman does bring up. Ada County seems to know how to have these big trials. The courthouse is built a certain way, and she gets into this bias that is already there. You can't dire it out. You can't ask questionnaires. It is just built into them because there's such an emotional attachment and the fear that they had for 6 weeks. And that they should have, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. They should still be scared. Half Irish is 300 miles. That's right, isn't it? It's 300 miles.
100 miles is absolutely correct.
It's a long way.
Yeah, you basically Judge is going to have to park it up there, during the week and come home, and same with Thompson. And
they're all going to have to just move basically for the weeks. Yeah. 2 hours drive. Hello, champion. Yeah, 2 hours. Yeah, so it's a kilometers. Yeah, so am I a kilometers girl. So 200 miles. God, I don't know. A long way.
Or if I'm driving, closer to 3 hours because I drive very slow. So it would be. Yeah. It's a commute. It's not
doable every day.
Unless it's. And like as you pointed out correctly, Nez Perce, 20 miles away to Lewiston. Let's go to Lewiston.
And also, thank you so much for the super chat, Dina MM 2.0, my bestie from Ohio. I know a Minnesotan that wants to change a venue because everyone's against him. Really? Does he want to change a venue? Does he?
Who?
Dear me, goodness me, man! Like he wants everything that he didn't. He knows everything that he sort of would make fun of everyone else for wanting. But anyway, love you, man. Love you. I'll catch up with you later. We'll have chats later. All right, she's so cool. So what is 11,500 kilometers? What? That's not right. Oh, is it 300? No, God.
300.
I don't trust anybody to do my maths for me because I can't do maths, and also I think people are making fun of me. Anyway, you were kidding. 300 miles is about 5 hours, not a commute. That's a journey. Yes, it is. Okay, let's keep going. All right, so I want to move on to Star Witness. There he is.
You have to kind of. Can you possibly go back to see? I mean, he literally walks behind Bill Thompson. I go out of the way.
Oh, is there like a moment? Is there a moment? Is there? Hang on.
No.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
Next witness.
Next witness is Dr. Bryan Edelman.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. There he is up there.
Edelman. The defense who hired him. Nope.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury.
I did. All right. Please have a seat, and then please state your name and spell your last.
I love him already.
I know. Oh, you want to mess up my service?
Thank you, Melissa.
Bryan Edelman.
That's so sweet of you.
EZELMAN. Sir, go ahead. Stay.
Thank you.
Just a sec. Thank you so much, Melissa. That is so nice of you to gift a membership. That's so sweet. I love having you around, Melissa. So nice of you to be here always. One of our really loyal members here. Much appreciated. And let's just see if I can see who that was. Who was it? Let me see. Boop, 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 boop.
Judge John Judge. Excited about her. That's who.
That would be good. April Betts. Congrats, April Betts. Make sure that you go through to the membership tab and click on the perks there to get through to the Discord. Really great to have you here. All right, let's keep going.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dr. Edelman, I see that you brought some things to council table with you.
I did.
What do you have?
It's just a copy of my
goodies.
presentation.
Your PowerPoint presentation? Okay. And is that face down? Perfect. Will you let me know if you need to flip it over to refresh your memory?
I can tell you the second you start, I won't be able to see anything, so I'm going to need it.
Okay. Your Honor, and counsel, then I'll ask if he can leave his PowerPoint presentation face up so he can help us understand this testimony. No objection to that.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
All right, let's start with your background.
Going back how far? Let me try with her.
Well, let's start with what you do right now and then work backwards and forward. How about that?
Okay. I'm a trial consultant. So in that capacity, I'm often in a courtroom doing jury selections and assisting with that, writing juror questionnaires, helping attorneys craft oral voir dire questions. And I also do pre-trial research. So that's focus groups and mock trials. And then I also do post-trial interviews and do a lot of presentations and writing in terms of trying to educate or help the legal community. And then I also serve as an expert witness in this capacity. And in that scenario, I'm often focusing on pretrial publicity, the impact of pretrial publicity, and whether or not a defendant's due process rights may have been undermined by media coverage.
Okay,
And
just a bit of blurring on. Now,
Caught judge's attention.
sorry,
Because-
go on.
Well, the due process rights, absolutely, and it caught judge's attention. He was very upset when the defense filed that motion, charging him with violating Mr. Kohberger's due process rights. But there's an issue here. Due process requires three things: notice, opportunity to be heard, and an impartial judiciary. And what Taylor is going to do in her closing arguments is not only Sixth Amendment privilege for but also, Judge, you need to be you got to make sure that this proceeding's impartial. Otherwise, we have a 14th Amendment violation as well as a 6th.
She's on to it. All right. Now, I wanted to flick forward because something happened. Thing happened. And this caused all sorts of strange, like, oh my goodness, look at that. Oh,
Isn't that horrible? How was he supposed to get a fair trial?
That's not even him.
It's
His
an
face doesn't look
AI rendition of him. He just looks, just mental. It's
hilarious. Okay, hang on a minute. Schnibbles, thank you for gifting 10 excited parents memberships. You are amazing, Schnibbles. I love you. Schnibbles is great. Schnibbles is fantastic. Rector Law, Cheesehead lost on Bourbon Street. Lisa Beck, Diego Sampio, Julie O, Grant Daly, Scott Gardner, Donna T, Lexi, Edward Lockwood. All gifted memberships by Schnibbles. Make sure you go through the membership tab and click on the perks to get through to the Discord where we have lots of fun. You are awesome, Schnibbles. Thank you, Schnibbles. I just like saying Schnibbles. Yay, Schnibbles. That's a nice one. Thank you. 10 gifts. Okay, moving on. I really appreciate that, Schnibbles. See, there are nice people in the world. There are nice people. By the way, guys, forget my pinned note up there. There's a link in there that's wrecked. But thank you to Half Irish. You're a great mod. You have been linking out to Kathy's podcast and also to Kathy's YouTube channel. Let's get some subs going for Kathy. Let's get you going.
Thank you.
YouTube channel happening. Be cool to see. Next time we'll be on your live.
I love that. Notice here, something I just noticed, I don't see very bushy eyebrows here. So we could possibly know that this is in favor of Mr. Kohberger. But quite frankly, Hella, this just makes him look So it's obviously a rendition of him. Okay, this is
Oh, yeah.
obviously a rendition of Bryan Kohberger, and it makes him look absolutely mental. To where, oh, should I go in? Should I not? The Blum. Should I go in? I'm having this conflict. Should I go in? Should I not go in?
You're absolutely right, and it just like the whole face shape's completely incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's this whole pointy chin thing is
He
just
doesn't have
that's
that.
not him at all.
Mm-mm.
So it's very strange. Hey Diane, how's it going? How did you feel about today, Diane? To get your thoughts. Okay, let's keep going.
About the evidence and the person and so on. When you have a case like this, people come into the courtroom with case-specific attitudes that are well developed and based on, it could be emotional information, it could be evidence that they already have read, seen, or heard. So they have very well developed attitudes. So that's a unique thing because they're no longer blank slates when they're hearing evidence. They're confirming what they already know, as opposed to jurors who don't know anything and are learning and building attitudes and knowledge structures as they go.
All right, so it got a bit further, and then what happened was they started to talk about social media. So we're going to get a little bit further, and because he did go on quite a bit.
He did. No, he testified, in my opinion, for far too long. He did, some impeccable research, but I feel that it could have been a third of how long he testified for.
Sure. I'd like to see a little bit of it. This stuff here, this stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this bit.
Yes. So again, like this is really looking at what people are seeing on social media and through informal communication networks. And the reason I did that is because it's a small county, and in small counties, people talk. So people are more likely to know, rumors and speculation because people know the victims, they know the defendant, or someone's worked with somebody who knows the defendant or victim. So from my experience, you have a lot of information disseminated through informal communication channels and through social media in high-profile cases.
Did you find that in this case?
I did. There was quite a bit.
What are we seeing on this slide?
So this is just an example. I went on Facebook and just did one search, which was just the search term was Moscow murders, to see what would come up. And this is what we would call a results page, essentially. So if you hit play, you can see the extent of content that's out there from groups that are just talking about this case and sharing information and discussing what they think happened, and videos and posts, which may include anything from influencers and podcasters to sharing traditional news stories through local newspapers or television stories. But there's quite a bit. And again, this is just one search.
It looks like you did a screen capture so that you could show the results from one search term.
Yes, this is me just scrolling through the search engine results page from that one search term. And what you're seeing is a combination of everything. And then if you click on the tabs like posts or groups, you would see other categories. What's remarkable is the number of groups that have been created discussing this case. Some of them local, some of them national, with, some of them have hundreds or thousands of members, others have hundreds of thousands of members. So this case has captured the public's attention.
We'll just keep.
What's interesting to me, Kathy? And it would have been very simple for the state to go and do a search for free Bryan Kohberger innocent, and they would have found results.
Yeah. Yes, they would have. Yes,
they would have found results to rebut this. So maybe that happened when the lights were out for us. So no.
Well, that's where, and this is where, when we last met, we talked about there is no counter experts. That's where an expert for the state might have said, well, I did A, and I'm coming up with all of these results. It's not just, alibi, lies and all of this other stuff that we're seeing here. There are people out there that believe in the Constitution and that believe he is innocent and have a concern about, as I do, the mountain of evidence that has been withheld from the public. In this case, it's mind-boggling.
And wouldn't it be interesting if those things got brought up on screen by the state?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be interesting if the kind of things that we follow that show that people are worried about the fact that, hey, that DNA might not be his. Hey, that white Elantra could be anyone's white Elantra. Hey, what if that his phone actually wasn't turned off? His phone just stopped responding to the network and he could have been 40 miles to the west. What about all the stuff that we keep talking about?
Right.
What if the state actually brought that stuff up on the screen? You know what? They're not going to bring that up on the screen.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Because it's like in debate class. We all took debate class in high school or college. If you argue one side of the argument, it's not up to the defense to argue the state's side. The state should have had an expert witness, should have been up to counter everything, anticipated what the arguments were going to be, and had an expert who would argue the state side. But again, I say ignorance. That's my opinion. The state believed that they could they didn't need any experts. They didn't need anyone to oppose Cy-Ray. They didn't need anyone to oppose Bryan Edelman. This is the entire case. Hella, not one expert, not one.
I know. I half thought that they'd bring someone today.
Oh, yes. Well, they would have needed to disclose them. We would have known about it a couple of weeks ago when the deadline came for their response. And when that came and not one expert witness, I said, holy moly.
Yeah, but it's the state. They can just come along at the last minute and get away with it generally. You
get the lights of Bill Thompson getting up and advocating for Lewiston, and how nobody there has heard about this case. And well, let's move it to Nez Perce, Lewiston. Hi, Audrey.
Hey, Audrey. How did you streamed today, didn't you? Oh, good for you. And also, did you stream today, Audrey? I think you might have. Well done today. And also, I think your channel might be up to a few new subscribers. So well done. Everyone subscribe to Audrey. In fact, if I have a mod here, half Irish, can you grab Audrey's channel there and chuck it into chat? That'd be fantastic. Fantastic.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well done. Cool. Yes. All right. Let's watch a little bit more of this. And some drama broke out. Drama.
Scrolling for a minute. I think this goes on a little bit.
Sure. These are all groups that you're looking at right now. So these are just Facebook groups that have been created talking about this case. These are videos.
These all popped up from that one search term.
Jack Show.
I don't think we need to advertise all these, honestly.
Okay.
We've been trying to protect from this kind of stuff.
Your Honor,
I'm aware of it. I don't look at it. I don't read it. We know it's there.
Ooh.
May we take a brief break, Your Honor?
Sure.
Nice.
Dr. Edelman bringing the drama every time. Yep.
Ooh.
At this point, there was a mainstream media representative, let's not publicize who it is, was in the courtroom and falsely stated, you notice how Twitter keeps coming up. Twitter has come up over and over again on Twitter, or X, that there would be no more live streaming. The rest of the hearing was going to be closed. And that I said, oh no.
Yeah. But it didn't. Like, it was fine. Yeah. So why would people say that when it was clearly just stopped? Like it was a break.
Well, the fear was then the judge was going to sanction the defense for maybe violating the courtroom procedures and standards, because he didn't sound very happy when he made that statement. We don't need to publicize this.
To advertise it. Yeah.
Right. Well, no, she has to. She's got to put it in your face so that if it gets denied, then, she's preserving her client's rights for appeal. She's doing exactly, Hella, what she needs to do, so that I was fearful that this was going to be another excuse, or shall we say reason, to close something else. We are nearing the 2-year anniversary of these horrendous crimes. Yep. There is so much information that the public doesn't know, and now the hearing is going to be closed too.
They broadcasted the PowerPoint. How dare they broadcast the PowerPoint?
The power of the PowerPoint.
Not the PowerPoint. I was amazed to see any PowerPoints today. No wonder Bill was so quiet.
He was quiet. He was under the spell.
When he saw the PowerPoints come out, he was like, not the PowerPoint.
I know, and it was like Ann Taylor is like really like just turning that knife. She must have said PowerPoints like 3. Oh, I have a PowerPoints with me.
Oh, I have a PowerPoint for you.
Can I have his PowerPoints? It was like, okay, Ann, you made your point. You made your PowerPoint. You don't have to keep broadcasting it after the guy.
That's why Edelman was grinning so much.
I didn't notice that until you point that out, but he did have a big smile on his face.
He walked past Bill and then got in front of him as he was taking the oath. He was like,
I know, he's like just so happy to be there. It was almost like, hey, I've never ever had a survey of mine ever been stopped. How dare you? And here I am with my PowerPoints.
Yeah, Trevor. Now people have seen the super secret Facebook search results. Jury pool tainted for sure. Oh, see, now you won my heart.
Good point.
Tainted. You don't want to see the Facebook search results. They're secret. No one can see them.
Oh no, that's under lock and key. That's Fort Knox. It'd be curious. It would be curious if what's his face, Mowry, sent out his infamous warrants to every jury pool member to see what their searches were, and then we're gonna find out, Judge.
Mowry, you can't find out anything that Mowry did. All he did was use Windows snipping tool.
Oh my gosh, classic.
I use Windows snipping tool. Sorry, now I'm getting really, really giggly. Anyway, so at that point, this happened. It went like that
for a while,
quite a long time, like a really long time. Like I got to go back to sleep for a long while. Yeah. Oh, hang on. And then we came back, and it's like, oh wow, things are coming back.
All right. We'll put back on the record. Thank you. We're back on the record. This is State versus Kohberger, case number CR 29222805. Counsel are in the courtroom, and as does Mr. Kohberger. We had a certain break here so that we could discuss about what we want to send out to the public, but we also have to make a record on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break. We're going to make sure that we have the families of the victims can observe if they want to on Zoom. Some are here, and we're going to come back at 1:30.
Okay, so hello SW5 how are you? Good to see you here. Who's Twizzlestick? I need to know who Twizzlestick is. If Twizzlestick was there, he or she, I would like to know them and have them on. I really want to have someone on who is in the courtroom,
Mm-hmm.
or like is observing the body language and things that's going on in there. That would be fantastic.
Oh, true.
Put me in contact with this person. He lives in Pullman and goes to all the hearings. Oh, please, please, please.
Wow.
Yes. Can you make this person could you make him aware of me, like tag me on Twitter or something? That would be fantastic. Because I would love, next time there's a hearing, I would love to have him come on and talk to us about how it went that day. That would be awesome. He's a content creator. Oh, okay, cool, sweet. Has he got a channel? If he's got a channel, then I could probably find him that way. Twizzlestick. Oh, I can email you his email. Fantastic. My email is just in the about section. Yay. Sweet. All right. Okay, so that all happened. Then let's just giant, and there was a giant break then. Like they said it wasn't going to be long.
It was lunchtime also.
Oh, that's right.
And they had been going since, 9:15 their time.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, blah, 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 blah. All right. And then Edelman kept going, right?
He did. He went for a while after the lunch break as well.
Yep. Okay, so give him props. There's a big PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love this bit.
Difficult time convincing them all at once.
Have you read, seen, or heard?
What about another
Okay,
media
so
item?
this is pretty much the stuff
What
that
about what?
was in the
Another media
document.
item?
That
So
Thompson
the next one is whether or not they knew that DNA.
Sorry.
where that Thompson stood up. Remember that hearing? He stood up and he read the questions. Oh, thank you, Mr. Thompson. We that was all under seal. We appreciate your help.
Nice. All right. So what I'd like to do now is go to the closing arguments, because Miss Ann Taylor, she's amazing. Oh, hang on a minute. We missed the last one. I'm an idiot.
We disclosed Dr. Dare twofold. First, to talk to the court about the survey instrument itself, and then to provide rebuttal testimony. Part of that is going to come based on the state's objection too. So I don't know if the state has any witnesses to call, but we ask that she stay for that if that's the case.
Okay. So Dr. Dare, line it up. Please.
I don't know if you've got any witnesses to call.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, you don't.
You don't.
No.
We'll call Brett Payne back to the stand again. I would have liked that.
I love that. That's such a burn.
I know. She just.
Case clerk, raise your hand.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury.
Yes. Thank you. Now, please have a seat, and then once you're seated, please state your name and spell your last.
Yes, Veronica Dare, D-A-H-I-R.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. All right, let's start with your occupation. What do you do?
I am the director of the Grant Sawyer Center for Justice Studies at the University of Nevada, Reno. I'm also the director of survey operations for the Nevada Center for Surveys, Evaluation, and Statistics, also at the University of Nevada, Reno.
Do you also do consultations outside of your role with the university?
Yes, occasionally.
And is it in that capacity that you're here today?
No, today I'm here independent of my role at the University of Nevada, Reno. I am here as an expert consultant, and that is independent of my work at the university, although my testimony is based on my previous experience, knowledge, and education that I received at the university.
Okay, so
She's basically saying, Dr. Edelman's survey, stand muster. You can bank on it. The questions were appropriate. That's her testimony.
Okay, so it's kind of like a peer review.
There you go. Just coming in, ask, is there anything that raised questions? Was something worded improperly? No, it's fine.
Yeah, okay. So did she get cross-examined?
I don't recall if she did or didn't, but Judge looked very bored during this testimony.
Right. Let me just see if she gets cross-examined. I just want to, because it always interests me whether or not they could be bothered. Yes, she does. Hang on.
Convict here is great, and it won't be in secret. And are so big of the bias
and supervise. My understanding is that research strategy has been around for 20 plus years. So I'm assuming they're like our lab where they were trained properly and they have supervision where there's supervisors also supervising the interviewers. So that's another way to combat non-response bias, which includes refusal conversion training, which is
okay, so if I just go forward once, twice, 3 times.
She's all business.
Yes, there's nothing, but nothing. They went, nah, couldn't be bothered with her. There you go. It's a lot of supers.
Mm-hmm.
You skipped her. Okay, well.
Yeah, science.
As you said, Kathy, she is there to confirm that the other guy's real, and the state didn't seem to care.
No.
So fine. They just let that one roll. All right, this is the bit that I really was very impressed with today, and that was the closing argument by Ann Taylor. I'm a bit of an Ann Taylor fan, if you haven't noticed. It's pretty hard not to be. I had a little bit of a heart attack when I read the thing about her resigning from her role, not realizing that meant that she wasn't resigning from this role here. As defendant of
private practice. If she wins this case, it's going to make her probably the most famous defense attorney, arguably in the country, the world.
As she should be. She should be. Yeah. So yes, we're not going to watch the entire thing because it goes for quite a long time. But the first sort of 5-10 minutes or so, very good, very persuasive. And then we will watch the last little bit, which leads into Judge's non-ruling. And we'll stop from time to time and make a couple of comments and see what other people have to say. Hello, Colostomy Bag. How are you? Yes, thank you for the membership. Thanks for popping in and saying thank you for the membership. No problem. You're very welcome, Colostomy Bag. Hope you're feeling baggy today. Right, let's go.
Decision to change venue rests on what you've heard today and the court's determination that there's a reasonable likelihood that all of the media coverage has impacted the impartiality of a Latah County jury. That comes from Paul and Shepard. Your Honor, it's important to think of that standard in light of the Constitution of the United States and the state of Idaho. Mr. Kohberger has a constitutional right to a fair trial by an impartial jury. And to guarantee that, this court must change venue. Your Honor can look at the media coverage in this case and know that it's prejudicial coverage. The amount of coverage is a huge amount of coverage. The kind of coverage is prejudicial coverage, and it's had an impact on the Latah County potential juror. The court can see actual prejudice by understanding the results of that survey. Reading the hundreds of comments from Latah County residents, you can see that the media has been prejudicial and it's actually prejudiced potential jurors in Latah County. The court can also presume prejudice by looking at this case as it is. It's an extreme case that comes out of the Haddon case in Idaho, and you can presume prejudice in an extreme case. You have heard all day long how much coverage this case garners. It's Latah County, it's bigger, it's a state of Idaho, it's nationwide, it's outside of the nation, it's continuous, it's every day.
social media, books have been written, primetime television shows have happened in this case. It just doesn't stop. And you know that this is prejudicial coverage as well. The state has agreed things that were surveyed are false media items. At least some of them. This is all before the other things contained in the media are subject to admissibility rules, even if they're offered, subject to cross-examination and full context explanation of what they mean. So you have this coverage that permeates the community, bigger than the community, the state, bigger than the state, the nation, and this is an extreme case. The court should think about things that have happened in this courtroom too, when considering whether this is an extreme case and the amount of prejudice that exists. This court has issued courtroom rules to determine who can have a camera, where a camera can be. The court on our motion limited things and finally removed cameras from this courtroom, and the court right now is live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't take care of all of it though. The live stream is captured and replayed almost in real time, if not real time. Everything that happens in this case is on social media, and all kinds of things that don't happen in this case run rampant in news stories and social media stories and impact all of the jurors. It is particularly important when you're considering this extreme case to look at the size of this community. You heard a lot about that today. You heard how bias is created. And when you think about this little community and all of the people that spoke out early on about this case, that's how the bias starts in this case. People in this community have a lot of ownership in the case as well. They're connected to the case by being related to or knowing people that conducted the investigation. They're connected to the case by knowing the community leaders that have spoken out about the case. They're connected to the case by the relationship with the University of Idaho. That's a pretty tight connection. And that is how you have to think about the human bias that exists and how it cannot be fixed if we get to jury selection. Your Honor has to look at the content and know the content of the media and know that there hasn't been positive stories about Bryan Kohberger. It's negative stories. There's not a media story talking about Bryan Kohberger's right to be presumed innocent. There's not a media story talking about Bryan Kohberger being loved by his family. Nobody's talking about the good grades he achieved all through his undergraduate career and graduate programs. Nobody's talking about the dog that he loves and helped train. It's all negative. It's false. It's misleading. It's stuff that's rumor and never coming into court. There are things about his character that are just untrue that are out there. When you have this much information surrounding the case, it's an extreme case and it's all over the place. I don't want the court to think all this social media happens and it's not centered in Latah County and think that's okay, because it's just not. There's plenty that's centered in Latah County. I'm sure the court remembers where we started earlier today with the two pie charts that we were shown by Crusoe this morning. One talks about how big the coverage is in Latah County that projects into Latah County compared to how small of a piece of the pie of the whole population in Idaho that Latah County is. So that's a lot of coverage directed into Latah County, and that's the stuff. Those are the news stories, the nightly news that's coming into Latah County residents' TVs. That's their newspaper that they're going to get in the morning. But that's not all. Latah County has as much access to primetime news stories, as much access to Facebook groups, to different podcasts, to watch things on YouTube, to buy books containing this information. They have as much access to do that as anybody else. So you have to recognize how big the case is, how much coverage there is, and just how prejudicial the coverage is. You understand that, we understand that learning from Dr. L. O'Leary this morning when she talked about bias. So having that as a backdrop and thinking about the survey results that we just talked about, you can see that there is a huge correlation to the few media items that could be tested and prejudgment of guilt for Mr. Kohberger. And those are people in Latah County. You can see the case connections that are bigger than the other counties, and they just don't go away. You also should be aware that the coverage doesn't drop off. It's not going to stop. It may peak and it may dip a little bit. It comes right back up. You can expect that will continue. We have a pretty good schedule of hearings coming up for pretrial motions. The court issued a scheduling order a couple of months ago. And so you can expect that the interest in the case is going to pop back up every single time we have one of those hearings.
And that's a lot of media coverage, and people in Latah County are going to see it and read it, and they're going to continue with their opinions. So what do we do? What do we do about that? It's tough. It's really tough in Idaho. There is a lot of case recognition, and there's prejudgment in Idaho, but there's hope. When you look at the survey and you recognize that in other parts of this state, people don't recognize as many media items as they do in Latah County. That's good, because that means right to prejudgment. So that's good. That's hope right there, that we can find a jury somewhere in the state to give Mr. Kohberger his right to a fair trial. It's also a much larger population, so the impact on people sitting on the jury would be much smaller. Imagine with me that we are here in June of 2025, and we're here, and we've seated 16 or so people over here. You're going to recognize some of them. People that sit in the courtroom in our audience that want to come and listen to the trial are going to see them. Even if they don't listen to the trial, people are going to know whose car leaves their driveway every morning to get to the courthouse by 8:30 for 3 solid months. And those jurors that sit over there are going to feel an immense amount of pressure to answer the call of the community to be safe. You can read those comments about what people in this community think about Mr. Kohberger and what they think would happen if the jury found him innocent. It's hard to imagine that one of those jurors who all of a sudden said, you know what, I'm not sure, and listened to more evidence and said, I'm really not sure. I don't think he did it. Are they going to be brave enough to do that, to write not guilty, to say not guilty, and to stand their ground? That comes right to impartiality, that the court has to be sure that that's not going to happen.
Impartiality.
That there's a way to pick an impartial jury in this community. In Ada County, we don't have that. We don't have it. Canyon County, we also don't have that. Those are jurors that are not from this small, close-knit community. Those are jurors who aren't going to run into a police officer that investigated the case at a grocery store, or maybe somebody from the prosecutor's office at the jazz festival at the college. They're people who don't have those connections. The other difference that I think is really important to think about too is the location, the connection to the house where this happened. That has been a pretty big deal in the community and wider, but in the community, about whether the house should remain standing through trial or should be torn down. And there's been an awful lot of publicity about that. People in this community have an opinion one way or the other. We aren't going to know what their opinion is, but they're going to bring that into the courtroom. People in Ada County do not have. And why Ada? Why not Canyon, or why not Bannock? I think that's something that we should talk about. The easiest one to talk about is Bannock. The numbers look a little better there in a lot of regards, but it's a small.
Talking about the difference between the different counties, that you can watch that at your own leisure. But that last part was really good, don't you think?
Powerful. She hit it on. I was impressed, because I thought this was going to be a complete Sixth Amendment argument, and that's why she continues to push home United States Supreme Court case law, because the Sixth Amendment is, of course, the federal Constitution. But for her to ingeniously to throw in there, Judge, you have to be impartial. You cannot be you have to ensure. That's a 14th Amendment she's sliding in here after she filed that motion to set aside that order stopping Dr. Edelman for due process violations. Judge did not like that, but it had to be said. Brilliant argument. I agree with you.
It's so true. And this is the thing. You can't have people feeling pressured by other jurors or by the community. You just can't have that. Like,
it's not going to be too hard to figure out. Somebody's leaving at 8:30 in the morning every day, not coming back until, and they're able to walk in, and they're going to see he's going to see neighbors here.
Yes. Right? Yeah. And then, she said it so well. Like, how are they going to feel if they're the ones who start to feel, as this trial progresses, hey, I don't think he did it. Now I really don't think he did it. How are they going to feel as they go along? They're going to feel more and more anxiety, more pressure. And then when it gets to being in that jury room, are they going to actually have the guts to do it?
No. And I think that was a good point, because now it focuses judge's attention on the prospective jurors, and now they got to live in the community for the rest of their lives in this small town.
Yeah. And there's just so many factors that go towards that pressure that they're going to feel.
Hmm?
Yeah, people around them are going to hate them. They're going to be outcasts. There's this also, I don't think that many people outside of, like we've talked in this chat, but I don't think many people are taking into account the socioeconomic factors that go into this as well. So the fact that the university is the biggest employer in town, and then secondly there is the law enforcement as well, and the two are so interconnected.
Number one and number two, I believe you're right. I mean, other communities, other college towns, but they have other industries that, if, let's just say, a college closes down an annex, if University of Idaho were to close tomorrow, it'd be economic disaster for Moscow for sure, and possibly for all of Blackhawk County. All of them.
It's very much like a mining town or something like that, when you've got a mine in the middle of a town, and that's the only reason the town exists. Very similar to that kind of situation. And thank you, Kat, for turning off my light. Yeah, and it's so similar to, I don't know if you followed the Murdoch case, but in the Murdoch case, we had the clerk of court who is accused of jury tampering, and basically now we have at least one juror, potentially two or three, who are stating that they just felt pressured. They just felt pressured. And little plug, one of them is coming on the show on, I think it's Monday night.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I know. The egg juror who was kicked off the jury just before deliberation because she was very much in favor of a not guilty verdict. But anyway, these things happen. Small town, and everybody is very much in favor of the person being guilty. They want the person to be guilty, and everyone knows everybody. And you get these situations where you have to appease the mob.
Well, and one thing that Dr. Edelman brought home is that authority figures in this small community pointed the finger at Bryan Kohberger. Chief Fry said, "This is the guy. He did it." Even before and Dr. Edelman said he hasn't even been to trial yet. How do you know? People make mistakes. Same thing with Scott Green, and Bill Thompson. This is the Latah County prosecutor who these people have elected for 30 years. He is the face of law enforcement. He is saying this guy did it. So there's all of this bias that's built into these people's minds that they cannot voir dire away. They just can't.
I can't. Okay, so let's just have a little bit of a look at this last piece here. There's the argument in rebuttal is kind of silly, but we'll look at it anyway. Yeah, okay, Kat, I get it.
Ada County does a very good job with that. But the reason Ada County does a very good job with handling these high-profile cases with security, with court staff, with organization, with getting jurors in and out in an organized fashion, the reason Ada County does a good job of that isn't because Ada County has a physically bigger courthouse. It's because Ada County has diligent, competent, and professional staff. And I have every reason to believe that with the 9 months we have until trial, that this court staff here and security could also have the time to prepare and make operation plans and all of the things that go into having a trial of this magnitude. I have no doubt that they could accomplish that with careful planning and preparation over the many months between now and trial. It is also my understanding that there is a means to bring jurors securely into this courthouse outside of the public view.
Oh.
Moving on to the cost of travel expenses, council referenced the cost of transportation to and from the airport and correctly noted that the Spokane airport is considerably further from the Latah County courthouse than the Boise airport is from the Ada County courthouse. That's absolutely correct. However, the Lewiston airport is a shorter drive, again, about 30 minutes, and does connect to some major airport hubs. That would be another option. But even taking into account that there may be some additional rental car expense for the few out-of-state witnesses that we're going to have, that would be negated and then some by transporting all of the local witnesses from Latah County down 300 miles to Boise, by paying for accommodations in Boise for the court and court staff, the prosecutor's office and prosecutor's office staff, and the many local witnesses.
Look at Judge's face. Judge is like, so?
He's still thinking about the impact on the neighbors that have to come in here. And, oh, okay, yeah, we're going to get them in and out. We're going to put a big tent over them. So we're going to take them out of the parking lot, put a big tent over them, and have them under a tent when they sit in the jury box so nobody will know who they are. He's still thinking about that. That's my bet right here.
I reckon he actually is like, you're actually talking about like how much this is all going to cost and all that kind of thing. And really, like, I'm just processing the whole like seeing people down at the shops thing. Like,
Traitor.
Yeah.
Traitor. Something like that.
Yeah.
They got to live their lives.
Yeah. So, what do you do? Fly in to Lewiston Airport a kite? Oh dear. All right, this is silly. Okay, so let's just get to the very last bit. Oh. Kat, what did you do?
There's probably a lot of people who are watching this right now.
That's probably true.
Probably, coming home from work here in the U.S.
Hello. No. Come back. Come back.
And correctly noted that the Spokane Airport is
Any surveys on them. We don't have any information on them, except we know that Dr. Edelman pulled a couple hundred stories from the Lewiston Tribune and looking at the local media coverage because of the closeness of Moscow and Lewiston. And except that we know that people in Lewiston have the same nightly news as those in Moscow. And by the way, so does Kootenai County. KXLY that broadcasts all the stories on their nightly news, that happens at my house, it happens at Mr. Thompson's house, and it happens to somebody who's from Lewiston too. That's the same news. The difference is the newspapers, and the difference is the community connection and what that means in this case. So don't be tempted to go to another county we haven't surveyed. We've surveyed a lot of comparative counties. Stay in the place where your decision rests on what's going on here in Latah County.
I love the way she's telling me
For
what to do.
sure, when we do get to jury trial, you should do individual court. For sure, we should do a jury questionnaire and we should talk amongst all of us and try to figure out if we can excuse some jurors before they're ever brought in. They should never be on camera. We should try to keep them as anonymous as we can. Those are all things that we absolutely must do.
I agree with that.
To be the very most protective,
Judge,
you have to answer the first question. And that question is, we have to get this case out of Latah County.
Pronto.
That's an important decision, and it's important to make now. We're 9 months from trial, and we need to have the venue issue settled.
Look at him. He's coming around.
Yeah, she's telling him, and you can't be, doing your usual judge thing and waiting 2 months here. We need a decision.
Yeah. He's really coming around. You can see it. And she's changed her tone. She's like, you can't do this. You got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's telling. She's not asking. She's telling.
This is it. This is basically, it's now or never, Hella. She's winding it down, and then that's going to be it.
And she knows she's having the last word of the day too.
Mm-hmm. Right? It's her motion. Yeah. She gets the last word.
Yep.
We need to be able to have our subpoenas out. We need to have our experts plan. We need to have time set aside. I've got my time set aside, but we need to have our experts be able to get tickets and reservations for hotels. Don't answer all the questions at once, Your Honor. Answer the first one first.
That's it.
And then think about where it's most reasonable to have the trial. Think about the differences in the communities. But answer the first question first. We can't have this trial here. There is no way Mr. Kohberger can get a fair and impartial jury.
And 8 is
So,
A, Judge.
well,
That order.
I'm going to give you a decision now. Number one, I would say this is probably professionally the most difficult decision I've ever had to make.
No.
Both sides, okay, have made really solid
Yeah, I know. He's trying to.
positions and supported that.
No.
I know there are a lot of considerations, practical, in terms of logistics and prejudicial media. So I have some work to do. I'm going to go through
Exactly.
everything. Okay, even if I got most of everything, but that's going to take me a little bit of time, and go through the law again, including the rule itself and the interpretation of that. So I'll do my best. It's a challenge. So that's probably all I should say at this point.
Hey,
But I listened carefully all day, and I thought there was some really important things to think about, both sides, and that's what I'm going to do. So with that, I will adjourn
I'm
and
done.
take care. Have a good rest of the week. Thank you all.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
That's it. He's gone. He's
Yay.
probably sitting on the lounge chair right now. The 3 aspirins and whatever.
Oh yeah. Whiskey.
Your one subscriber made an excellent point. The fact that it's such a hard decision, it really should weigh the scales in favor of moving. Because if this is not an easy, no brainer, they didn't. In an abundance of caution, he should grant this. That's it.
100%. That he answered it himself with that. He completely made the decision by saying that flat out. If there's a doubt, then he should move it.
Right. It's not an easy decision for him. I'm predicting. I don't think he's going to wait 3 months. His usual slow pace. I think that this is probably we're going to see a decision here in about a month. Within a month, next month, he's got to put together a long one.
He needs to hurry. Yeah,
he does. But his order is. I imagine this order is going to be at least 10 pages. I don't think it's going to be as long as the IGG order because that was a case of first impression. This one, there's the rule. He can look at other cases, and he said he was really infatuated. But he was taken by some of the testimony. I think the second witness really got to him. Second, we're talking about and then driving home with Ann Taylor saying, "Listen, these are your neighbors. They're going to be having to live in this community."
That piece of the closing argument was, I saw his face. Like he really thought about that.
He did.
He really thought about that, and so he should, because that's him. He has to answer to that. He has to answer to the fact that people are going to know who these jurors are. These jurors are going to know people in the community. This is not a short trial. It's not 3 or 4 days. It's months. And they're going to get to the end of it. And how are they going to feel when they actually get into that room and they really do feel like they want to vote not guilty?
Right. There's going to be just too much pressure. And then
he has to be impartial.
And he also has to realize, if this was just the first count for burglary, that's one thing. All right. His life is at stake here. His life is literally on the line. And the 6th Amendment has got to prevail here. And the 14th Amendment, I just thought that was brilliant how she worked that into. And it's called granted, judge, GRANTED, and Ada County is ADA. That's it.
I love the way she was like, you don't have to decide everything, just decide the first thing.
Right.
It's like, she's such a bargainer. I love it. It's
Well,
like,
she was.
we don't
No,
have-
the assistant attorney general was muddying the water. She's arguing what her expert should have said. That no, we shouldn't hear. We have this other county right here, just 20, Lewiston right here. An expert should have testified to that. You don't stand up there yourself and try to testify to that because you have no qualifications to do jury consulting and talk about bias. You're an attorney general. That's what you do.
Yep, exactly. And I love it when she was like, unless the state have any witnesses, any experts. No experts. No.
I know.
No
And she does it so perfectly because you don't come across like, oh yeah, and the expert witness. No, she's like smooth as honey. It just comes out naturally, that it's like
I love it.
So budding.
All right, now one thing just before we go, Kathy, that's something that you're doing. You have a announcement to make.
With my channel? With
to do with the case?
My YouTube channel, or I have a new YouTube channel that I just initiated this week. But the big news is that the podcast, which I think it's pretty unique in that I've taken, for the convenience of people, because this docket is so long. I initially I initiated the InDieZone. It was on Amazon. It's now on iHeartRadio. It's on Amazon. I initiated on Spotify, on Amazon, iHeart, and a few other channels. It's really taken off worldwide. And so we have people from Japan that are calling him. They're calling him, just Professor Kohberger. They have a lot of regard for him, and they feel that he's being drugged through the sensei is the word, SENSAI. That means professor in Japanese. I looked it up. So we're up to episode 250 right now. Today's episode that just dropped this afternoon was on the June 27th order and motion to change the date for this hearing today. So I'm going to be, I think, caught up by the time of shortly after discovery cutoff. And then I'll be able to just, as things start happening, which they're going to happen quickly, add all of the episodes are 5 minutes or under. It's just a synopsis. I think people are intelligent enough to read the records, but it's just a quick, brief thing that you can just kind of listen to and get caught up on the case as we now head for trial.
So sorry, I didn't quite grab it. So you're moving things to YouTube, is that right? Or
no, the YouTube channel is really just there to publicize the podcast. That is my main offering is the podcast where I'm going through the docket from the affidavit of probable cause now up to June 27th. And and they're 5 minutes or less. You go over every item on that docket. And there's just some surprises there. We've gotten some information by really looking at the docket. Like, who knew that the grand jury met for 3 days? Didn't know that. Didn't know that there was no body cam footage when they arrested him. Didn't know that Brett Payne interviewed Mr. Kohberger at some point. Didn't know that Brett Payne interviewed Jack DeCourt. These are the things that you have to kind of look at on the docket. And just the mountain of evidence, Hella, that is hidden in this case. It is astronomical. It is astronomical. 51 gigabytes of information, 17 discovery requests, and we don't have one. Not one.
We don't have them. No. And I mean, September's coming. Let's see if anything comes of that. But doubt it somehow. Yes, the podcast explain every situation very well. And yes,
Exactly.
the Spotify links are there. Thank you, Half Irish, for all those links that you're putting up there. Much appreciated. There's plenty of ways that you can listen to Kathy's podcast, Spotify, Amazon, etc.
We're on Apple too.
And Apple. Yep. They're just brilliant. They're so easily digestible. You can just pick one and have a listen to that and gain some insight into the case that you never would have thought to even go look for, and then just keep going if you're interested. But 5 minutes ago, so little bite-sized pieces, which is nice. Name of Kathy's InDieZone.
That's
Couldn't
it.
get the iHeart link to work. Oh, okay. It's just called Idaho versus Kohberger. isn't it?
Versus Kohberger. Yeah, it's on Happy's. Yes, but try Spotify, Half Irish. If iHeart is acting weird, but yeah, it's on Spotify. It's on Amazon globally. Amazon Australia was the first that I got on Amazon.
Oh, there you go. I'm
And
going to show you how to do a link tree or something so that you can get all of them in one link.
I hadn't thought of that. I should probably do that.
Yeah. That'd be sweet.
Okay. I was thinking about you the other day when I was recording, because there was 2 more motions to seal documents where they did the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, cut and paste. Oh, thank you, Melissa. Thank you. The cut and paste. I said, oh, I wish I had Hella right here. I could point to her. And Judge doesn't make a comment. He just signs the order to seal more things.
Your content is amazing. Your knowledge of the case is just impeccable. I can't even imagine that you would know the amount that you do about this. It's the size of the discovery that is just available to us. And then you go and look at the fact that the lawyers that are involved in this then have access to about 8 to 10 times that amount, because of the fact that most of it is locked off from us. They really do have their work cut out for them. So, but Kathy, we're blessed to have you here. Thank you so much. I hope to have you back again next time or soon.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to be having some important things coming up when they argue against the DP. Would be a good one, and I'm expecting possibly a motion to dismiss coming up, maybe on a violation of due process, or maybe a violation of, as much as they want to distance themselves, Hella, from that affidavit of probable cause, they're stuck with that timeline. So I keep thinking maybe a Fourth Amendment violation of his privacy, or something having to do with that family tree, or something having to do with
I think there'll be a motion to dismiss because of it's basically a Brady violation. So they are withholding evidence. So I don't know. I have questions in with a couple of lawyers about whether or not the Brady violation can happen prior to trial, or whether or not the Brady violation happens only once trial has begun. But if there's been 6 motions to compel, and it's been very, all of this discovery has been very, very clearly requested. And once the discovery deadline's gone, and all of these motion to compel dates have long since passed, surely exculpatory evidence being held back, surely that's a Brady violation, or there's some other case law standard that is being violated. So if they're going to continue to hold this information back, and I'm talking about the CAST report, for example, or this IgG data, surely there's a motion to dismiss based on some case law, if not Brady, for that.
Right. And the two to dismiss the indictment, those are still pending, for appeal at the end of the case. So he's got 2 points already, and one of those motions to dismiss was withholding of exculpatory evidence at that grand jury. Very, very interesting.
That's what I'm looking into, Diane. I don't know whether it's Brady or if it's by some other standard, and I don't know whether it's by next week. I don't know whether it is by the discovery deadline. I don't think it will be by the discovery deadline. I think that the state could probably push it a fair bit further.
They're going to drag their feet. They're going to drag their feet.
Yes, but Anne will know when will be the time to push the button on a motion to dismiss on that one.
Almost.
So we'll see.
She got that one case thrown out because she was able to show that the cop committed perjury. The cop who wrote the affidavit of probable cause committed perjury on the stand. And so here we have a very questionable. We're not accusing anyone of committing perjury. We were not doing that. We're speaking here First Amendment, freedom of speech and the press, as we do, but she's the person for the job. She's the person for the job.
Yeah, Dali, good question. I think it's once the jury is sworn, unless they get new info, and then they have to turn it in immediately. Yeah, that might be Brady, but there's got to be, if that's the actual Brady violation, sure, but there's got to be some other case law to stop this kind of egregious kind of injustice from happening. So, yeah, otherwise, why have motions to compel? Why should they even exist? It's yeah, there's got to be something, some kind of sanction at least. Like, for example, you can't use any of the cast data, and therefore, without the cast data, therefore no cell data whatsoever, and without the IgG, and therefore no DNA, they have no case, and so motion to dismiss.
Yeah, great.
So,
I mean,
exactly.
that sounds very plausible. This case, so you look at Judges. He actually, we just did an episode. He actually signed a motion. He signed off on a stipulation, and this is to seal any future attachments to discovery requests or responses, even before he has them in front of him, Hella. So it's, how do you make an advance? You just can't.
No. All right. I need to probably feed this cat. And guess what, guys? We have a new little kitty cat in this household. I will show him to her. Her name's Suni, and she's my little girl. Got a new little kitty cat last night. So yes, I will be sharing pictures with you guys on the Discord shortly, putting some little videos up and stuff. So I need to go and look after that situation, because I'm trying to keep cats and dogs separated for the first 24 hours or so. It's all kind of difficult. So I'm going to go deal with that situation. Yes. Do they like each other? Well, the little one likes everybody. Seraph is not too sure. And the dog doesn't even know. I know. Oh my God. Hella cheated on me and didn't share the news first. Sorry. Sorry. Indoor only. Yes, this one's indoor only. Yeah, I'm not having another one go missing. They're all indoor only right now, except for the dog, obviously. Okay. Thank you so much again. This has been amazing. Once we get chatting, that's it. We just keep chatting.
Thank you, Helen. Have a great weekend.
You too. It's time for the song. Time for the leaving song. Where are we? Yep.
Her name was Helen. She was an Aussie. She was the fake lawyer from the future. She got on
Bye, everyone.
And made some live streams. The co-host is Dolly and she dances sometimes. The words are always so loud, and because she's a native.